Alright, so I started the recording. Normally, when we start these, I try to ask those of you that are new to introduce yourself. So we've got at least three people I see that are new. If you'd like to, so you don't have to, but if you'd like to introduce yourself, you could type it in the chat. If you'd like, the chat bubble in the upper right corner, or you can request to speak, and you can speak on stage and tell us about yourself. How you found the event, what your interest in the event is, and what your current level of experience is in coding. So that would be cool to know if any of you guys want to volunteer that information. But if not, don't feel pressure. You don't have to. Alright, history, can you hear me? Just checking my mic, because I know you're more familiar with me than anybody else here. Maybe you can hear me, maybe you can't. If you can hear me, I'm assuming everybody else can. Alright, thank you. Alright, so I got some updates for some of you guys too that may or may not be interested. So I know some of you guys come into this, and I'm saying it too for the benefit of people watching the recording later. As long as everything works out with the recording, it's going to get posted. So basically, I'm going to be moving platforms. I'm not going to be on Discord anymore. I tried Discord for, I believe, for this community anyway, for the Dark Mode Devs community. I wanted it for my company server to build a dev community here and try to create a community where people can interact, help each other, and it didn't matter to me if anybody was interested in my programs or not. I was trying to create a community where people can still get together and see how we can help each other in our projects or in our progress as developers, regardless of whether you're interested in one of my programs or not. So it kind of worked out, but it kind of didn't. So to be honest, I'm gonna be moving to a different platform. I'm gonna be moving to a more professional platform. So if you guys are interested in that platform, you can DM me. But it's going to be a different platform, a more professional platform, where we have to use our names, where people can't just use fake names or maybe fake profiles. And because the main reason is because I've had problems on this server with people coming in disrespecting people coming in violating my rules, and because they have fake accounts, and then they just create another fake account and just come in and try to do it again. And the bot is pretty good right now with picking them up, so I created a bot, and the bot is pretty good with picking that stuff up and just banning them. But the whole point of the dev community was not to have a bunch of fake profiles or unknown people that were trolling the server. You know what I mean? I was trying to have a bunch of people that were real people that are active, and there are real people here, so don't get offended. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I know there's real people here. I've talked to a lot of you guys, but that's the people I'm reaching out to. Or anybody watching this video, or if you're in my DM already, I'm likely gonna DM you and let you know when we switch communities, because that's what we're doing. We'll be switching from Discord to Slack, more likely Slack. If you guys have any other ideas, maybe about other communities that may be a little more professional, let me know. I was assuming this community might be a little more fun, but it's a little too fun, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not so serious, and it's easy for people to do things that defeat the purpose of the community. So just let me give you guys a heads up there that I'm gonna be switching. That and Discord software, to tell you the truth, sucks. So like right now we're okay, but there's been times where I've made a recording and the screen goes blurry. Like my screen's clear in front of me, but when I watch the video back, the Discord software is blurred out, or like it just frozen, it gets frozen, or it kicks everybody out of the meeting. Like I had one meeting where it kicked all of us out of the meeting, and it's just problems not just with the fake accounts coming in, but problems with Discord software. you don't have, because I use Slack in in a professional setting when I was working as a junior developer at a at a 8-month apprenticeship, and that community is pretty active, and there's a lot of people in that community, but they're pretty damn active, and there's a lot of real people there, and it's a more professional type of atmosphere, and everybody's there actively helping each other. So one of my friends in that community who said, yeah, you should probably check out Slack. Maybe you should move to Slack. So I spent time building this community. So that's what sucks about the bad news here, about trying to, that I'm just gonna just destroy it basically. But I'm actually gonna be reaching out to people and making that switch, that transition. So if you would be interested in that switch, you could just DM me sometime. Just get me in the DM, and later on, after I make the switch, I'll be going through my DMs and sending invites to people that wanna follow us to the new community. All right, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. First things first. So that's in the works right now. It could be this next week, or it could be the week after. We're planning to do it like ASAP. We're trying to get it done here soon. All right, so I'll get on with the event. Normally in these events, I do like to start with introductions, so I'll say that one more time. If anybody here that's new would like to, or even if you're not new, I mean, if you want to break the ice, or maybe I'll break the ice. I mean, I usually break the ice with my events anyway, like because I have these slides I like to share, and I talk a little bit about myself and my path and things that I did to get where I'm at, or how I got doing what I was doing. And I just like people to introduce themselves, like, let us know what their interest in coding is, or this event is, and what their current level of experience is, how they found the event, like was it a particular platform, or did somebody tell you about it? Because I've gotten different answers. I've had people find us on Meetup, on Eventbrite, word of mouth, maybe one of their friends told them about it. So like, just like to know, it's good to know. I like to gather that information. It's just perfect for me personal. I don't gather people's data and sell it. I'm not that type of person. So just for me personal, just so I know how my marketing efforts are working out for trying to build a community and get people gathered together somewhere. All right, so we got. All right, so let me share my screen. Share my screen. You guys are gonna be seeing nothing I'm talking about. Trust me, I've done that before too. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. All you gotta do if you're new to Discord is you just click on it. If you click on the screen, it's gonna enlarge it so you can see what I'm sharing with you in a moment. Hazel, can you see my screen? Everything's good? So I see you typing. It's because I still have one monitor set up. That's why it's slow to expand, but I do see it. All right. Yeah, that's the problem with Discord. Is Discord's been getting overwhelming, and their software has just been really laggy and slow, and it hasn't been reliable. And that's one of the other. I have two main reasons for leaving this platform, and that's one of them. Yeah, no, it's not on your side. It's done it to me left and right. So like, it's done it to me a lot, and I'm not using I'm not using like a super low end cheap PC or nothing. I'm using a decent PC, and then even my other PC, it was a high end gaming PC, and Discord was still breaking. So it's not it's definitely not nobody's PC. It could be sometimes maybe your network, your Wi-Fi network, your ISP, but that's not always the case. If your ISP is, if you're not having any outages with your ISP, or there's no issues right now with the internet, then it's definitely just Discord. Discord's real buggy. They've been trying to do too much with their software, and they all on their free tier, they make a lot of good offers. Like they have on their free tier, they let messages persist. So in other words, they have a database somewhere, or multiple places likely, that are just saving data that could be decades or as old as Discord is, right? It'll be as old as Discord is. This data that they've been saving, because they give people on free plans, they let their data persist. Whereas somewhere like Slack, you have to pay. Well, it's cheap. Slack's like really cheap a month, but you have to pay for your data to persist on Slack, and that's the way they keep their servers clean. Because if somebody's not paying, then they're not persisting their data longer than 90 days, I believe. And in a dev community where we're all sharing resources and talking code and things like that, we're gonna want the information to persist. So like and that's what we're doing. We're using a gamer environment, a gamer's environment to run a dev community. Because I thought it'd be pretty cool, because there's a lot of people using Discord for a lot of things and more than just gaming. But I already got a good enough feel for it to know that Discord's probably not going to be the right spot for this community. It's going to be better off somewhere else. All right, so oh yeah, back to the slides. So I'll share the slides. You know how I get. I start talking a lot, and here we go. So I know some people know what we're doing in this event. We're going to be talking about the 4 paths into tech. There could be others. If you know of another path into tech, let me know. But these are the 4 paths that I'm familiar with, that I know, and I've taken all of them. So who I am, just call me Fernando. Nobody's got to call me by my full name. I just go by Fernando, or Nan, Nan. You can call me Nan. That's my nickname. All right, so we got. I did go to bootcamp, coding bootcamp. I'm a graduate there, and I took their full stack web and mobile development program. I also work for them too now, so I work for them as a web developer and an ambassador, and I'm also a full-time student at the University of Advanced Technology. So that's a private university in Tempe, Arizona, if anybody's interested in checking it out. And they're only a tech-based university, so all they teach is tech. That's it. They don't, just like their name suggests, they don't teach nothing outside of tech. Only things that are within the realm of the tech industry. That's the only kind of degrees they have. Also, I'm in my senior year there too, by the way. So. Also, I completed a software engineering apprenticeship, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, and that was 8 months long. It was with senior software engineers, pair programming, learning about the software lifecycle and development processes and principles, and working and seeing production level applications and how those things get the method to all the madness, basically. The way those things are built and actually put out to production. There's like many layers involved. It's not just let's slap this thing together and host it somewhere type of deal. That's how it is when you're learning. When you're learning, you just, we're going to put this thing together and just host it somewhere. But there's actually a process, a really in-depth but very careful, calculated process. Some companies take their process really, really seriously, and that's probably what makes them successful too, because there's not very many companies anymore that deliver quality software. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of companies now that are garbage. They deliver a lot of low-end garbage software, but there's a lot of companies, the ones that deliver high-level quality software. They take their pipelines and any other approaches to building software very serious. So we have, I'm also the founder and CEO of my own company, Dark Mode Devs. I originally started Dark Mode Devs as a software company where I wanted to build full stack applications and mobile full stack applications and web-based full stack applications for clients, for people. I wanted to also monetize some ideas that I had. And then it also turned into the mentorship program as well. And that happened kind of by experience, due to a need that I seen. I'll talk about it a little more in depth, but it was because of a need that I seen in the tech industry that's lacking as far as coding boot camps and watching video tutorials and all that stuff online. What I was trying to do with my mentorship program was fulfill those needs, but at the same time fill in the missing gaps because the missing gaps I got from the apprenticeship. So there's a lot that I learned out of the apprenticeship, there's a lot, like working with real people and learning real processes from real people, how it's done in the industry. Like those kind of experiences most people don't get when they're just learning. And so like that's what I try to do. I try to give you those experiences even when we're just learning. So it's pretty high level mentoring, and it is difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. It's just like anything that's easy, everybody does it, right? But the hard stuff, very few people are willing to go down that road. So why career in coding? Because the tech industry is booming and it pays a lot, right? So like that's the main reason why everybody does it. Because if you go to an established company or a startup that has a lot of funding, they're likely to be able to pay you a lot for your time, as long as you have the skill set. And that's why technical interviews got harder, because we have software engineers have a really tough job. It's hard. It's not easy. And the things that you have to do, you can't just take them for granted from nobody. You have to really test people and know whether they really have the skill set or the knowledge to be able to do what they say they can do in their resumes. And that's the reason for the technical interview, or any interview. Like the whole interview process is structured by these companies in different ways. But the main part, that's the most difficult part of the whole process, is the technical interview. Because every other part of that interview process is very natural. Like if you're just being you're just being yourself, 100% yourself, and you're being genuinely who you are, and they can see that, and they feel like it's a good match, then you've conquered that part of the interview. As long as you're transparent and you're not lying to them, you're telling them the truth, showing them the truth about yourself, and then your technical skills. How are your technical skills? Because that also make or break the interview. Because you can be a great person, but maybe you don't have the technical skills, and it comes out during the interview, and you don't get the job just based off that. So, but the technical interview is definitely the hardest part. But there's a lot of career paths here. We got not just web development, but we got data science, AI, IT, QA. Like there's many things that you can start off. Like I know QA doesn't code, but maybe even certain IT jobs don't even code, but it's a foot in the door. Like I've met people in my network where they started as QA engineers, and then where they're doing no coding, it's just quality assurance, just testing and things like that. And that's where they started, and then eventually they made it into a junior software engineering position from there. So like not everybody has the I guess the luck of starting off in just the software job right away. So why career in coding? Just everybody has their reasons. For me, it's because I loved it. I knew at that point, like I said earlier, I wanted to learn how to build full stack apps, because at the time I didn't even know what the hell a full stack meant, right? Because I had zero experience. So I just knew I seen all these apps and all this software, and I was like, I want to build it. I want to see. I have ideas that I want to build, and I wanted to learn how to do that. And so I didn't know all the technical jargon and everything else going on at the time, but I knew I had a high interest, and that's when I discovered how hard it was eventually. Because everything starts easy when you go to these coding boot camps or the universities or anything. They purposely start you off easy, because you have to start somewhere. They can't just throw everything at you like that. They can't just throw the kitchen sink at you, basically. They can't just give you everything right away. You're not going to know what the hell to do with it. It's going to be too difficult for you. So they start small and incrementally get more and more difficult, and implement more and more high level, concepts. But that's at a university. With the coding boot camp, it's going to be a lot faster pace. So you'll start small, but then they're gonna throw a lot at you eventually really quick, and you gotta be able to keep up. But the whole goal of those places is to get you job ready. Is to get you the skills that you need to be at an entry level job. You might not know all the ins and outs of building software, but you know enough to be entry level, to be considered entry level, where technically you should be hireable at some company somewhere. because you can't look at it like every company is a prospect, but not every company is for you. Like you're not, it doesn't, you can't take it as a given. You don't know where you're gonna end up, or you don't know what. Because like there's people that wanted to do JavaScript development or React development in JavaScript, within the JavaScript industry or tech industry for web development. They wanted to be JavaScript developers as far as being a front end React developer, for example. And then they end up doing something else. You know what I mean? They end up doing like, I don't know, game dev, or they end up quality assurance, like I said, or just working some IT job somewhere, or they end up doing Angular or Vue.js somewhere instead of React, and it happens like that. Like you're not always going to get exactly what you want. That's the downside of working for companies, is that you're not always going to be building exactly what you want or what you're interested in, and you're not always going to be working the position that you want or that you're interested in. Not unless you're like entrepreneur and you're a successful entrepreneur, then you're going to be working and doing exactly what you want because that's what you're doing. So like it depends on what your goals are. For most people, they're happy just working somewhere. Coding, they don't care what they're coding, just as long as just the logic is fun, and because they want to feel like they have some kind of security, even though security is an illusion. I'll tell you that straight up. So like these companies will tell you, yeah, we're gonna give you a salary, but you can lose that salary overnight. You know what I mean? If they don't like something you did, or if they feel like they don't need you anymore, they can just fire you basically, and then there goes that security you thought you had. And it's the same thing. They also offer like the other benefits like insurance, medical insurance, dental, things like that. Things that a lot of people take for granted at a lot of places. They feel like they have security, but the reality is security is an illusion. So you'd always want to be prepared. You always want to, if you end up scoring a tech job where you're making $100,000 or more a year, be smart with that money. Like put that money away, and make sure you have a safety net for a rainy day, because the tech industry is it moves too much. Like in other words, like you're there today, gone tomorrow. Basically, it moves a lot. Nobody was secure. I met a lot of senior engineers in the network, and a lot of them lost their jobs, and it took them months to find another job, and they were able to successfully do it because they were smart enough to keep a safety net. While the ones that wanted to act like they're millionaires and blow their money everywhere, they had nothing. They were dead in the water. They had nothing. You know what I mean? They had to go do something else or figure it out. So like that's what I mean is like, be smart, right? You gotta be smart. But it's great. Tech industry is great. Coding is fun. Yeah, so if you love it, then that's a big reason to get into it. Because that's why I got into it. I fell in love with it. I started actually writing code, and I was like, I love it. I like it. It's great. I started learning the processes, and I'm a real technical person. I also build computers too, so like that's the other thing. I was like, I've always noticed I've always been a intellectual person that likes technical things. I like technical style jobs or learning. I don't really care to use my physical body anywhere. That's how it was when I used to work construction, because that's where I started in my family. I started as a blue-collar worker working construction, and I was miserable. I was miserable every day working construction because my body hurt. I was tired. I couldn't stay up. I didn't have the time to spend with family or anybody or do anything. I was just working all day hard as hell for a little bit of money every day in the sun too, in Arizona, because I'm in Tucson, Arizona, in the United States. So working out in the sun, where during the summer too, when it was like 110 degrees out. You know what I mean? Not all days were good. I'd come home sick, sometimes throwing up from being sunsick. Or like when I worked as a painter, I would come home with a migraine headache from smelling paint all day while throwing up, just feeling like trash until I was able to fall asleep, and then I had to wake up early and do it again. So that's the some people are able to do those type of jobs and they're okay with it, but some of us, we just don't like it. So like, just to give you an idea how I started, not everybody, we all start somewhere, and that's how I started. One of the blue collar jobs I did that I did love though, I'm not gonna lie, was mechanics. So like when I was working on cars, I love it. So like if I could still do that nowadays, you have to be certified professional and you have to have some kind of schooling. But Back then, you didn't have to. You could, if you had some, if you can just talk about it and show people that you know how to work on a car, they'd hire you. But not anymore. It's not like that anymore. Uh, so that's why I chose to get into software, because it's like if I'm gonna go back to school, I'm gonna get into software. I'm not gonna go back to school to be a mechanic. All right, so it just costs too much money. Costs too much money to go back to school, right? So yeah. So what does it mean for you when you're, do you have these opportunities like where on the low end I would say you're making about maybe 60-ish to 70,000 a year. On the higher end you're making about 90, 100,000 a year. I think that's the high end nowadays, like more recently. So like if you go to like Indeed, or if you go to LinkedIn or any of those platforms and you're looking at jobs there, you'll notice that the yearly salaries, depending on the type of developer, has went down recently. Especially in web development, the pay has went down a little bit compared to what it used to be. Give me 1 second, I want to check that alert. Anybody message me about anything? All right, I guess not. All right, back to the slide. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that one next, but basically, great starting pay, like I said, right? 6 figures for some people, the people that get the good positions. Could be 5 figures. I mean, we just don't know where you're gonna start, right? So anyway, what about AI? So you got a lot of AI coming out right now, and I used to be a little bit more confident when I used to tell you guys that AI can't do what we can do, so I wouldn't even worry about it. And I still feel that way, but I'm waiting to test out the newest model from OpenAI. So before I start getting crazy, and then, because like when I tell you guys things, I like to know for sure that what I'm telling you is the right thing to tell you. So I know with the older models, the models that we have out currently right now, they're not able to do everything that we can do as far as the software development process, but there are developers that are building AI that 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 is capable of doing everything that we do as a developer. In other words, like there is some software right now being built that I'm trying to request access to, early access to, for my company, so I can test it. And I'm really testing it not necessarily for my company, but for you guys, so I can give you guys feedback right now. About how AI is affecting the industry and how that's going to change anybody's role as a developer, because that's the main reason I care about as well. So like I try to tell people, I guess be real with you. I'm not going to lie to you and just try to sell one of my programs to you. That's not how I do it. Like I try to be honest to let you know what's going on and what I how I truly feel about it. But I do still feel that until I test these models anyway, I still feel that AI can't replace us, because there's a lot in the software development process that has to be implemented, and they don't do it 100% accurate. So like an AI, what the last test that Coding Bootcamp ran on AI, they found some data on AI. They were maybe 50% or 52% accurate. So that tells you right there, a lot of the times, or a lot of the tasks that are software related that you're giving to an AI is normally pretty inaccurate. It's almost half the time inaccurate. Or even if you gave it one prompt, it's expected that most of the time that prompt, the results of that prompt are only 52% accurate. And it's the same with, like, if you gave it 100 prompts, it would only be accurate 52% of the time. I'm pretty sure that was the data. If I remember correctly, I haven't read it in a while, but I remember I talked about it in an older video. And that was the AI of the time. So like people don't realize how inaccurate AI is, but it does help speed up the development process, because it does a lot of the easy stuff for us. So like it does a lot of the boilerplate code. It could suggest starter file structures or architecture, but even that is pretty inaccurate, because sometimes the architecture for a full stack, like if you asked it, because I've tested it, I know how to build my architecture or set up my architecture for a full stack project, but like I'll ask the AI all these things to see what it's capable of, and it's pretty inaccurate because sometimes it comes out with the front end architecture, even though you asked it for a full stack architecture, and it's just like, and unless you're trained or you're already experienced and you know, you're not going to know the difference, right? Because if you don't know, you're going to prompt the AI and you're going to think whatever it gives you is gold, and you're going to believe it's 100% accurate, and maybe you got the code to work somehow, and maybe you think the code is 100% accurate, but an experienced developer can look at that code and trash it and just pick it apart. Like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is all the bugs. And on top of that, even if the app didn't work, you don't even know how to debug it or test it or take it to the level where it's actually production level yourself. You just prompted the AI and you're gonna go based on that. But that's what I mean about experience as a software developer, as a human being. Still know, like, we still, our brain is more capable. Like, we still know and do things that AI can't do right now, as far as I know. And but I think that a developer that knows how to use AI really well, like how to leverage it, they're gonna replace you. Like, that's the one that's your main competitor. Is because, like, if me and you are applying for the same job and we both get an interview and you don't know how to use AI and I do, they might like that. They're likely gonna like that better because I can do what you do even quicker because I know how to leverage AI to do it quicker, and then I know how to check what the AI output and make it even better, make it actually what it should be at the, depending on the scope that we're using the output in. And that's what I mean is that people that know how to, like, you know what I mean, because I could do it faster. It might take you, what you can do in 4 or 5 hours or even 8 hours, I can do it in maybe an hour or two, right? And that's going to make me more valuable than you. And that's what I mean about, or vice versa. You know, I don't mean to sound like that, so, like, don't take it the wrong way, but even vice versa, if you were the one that could leverage AI better than me, and it was the other way around, I'd be out. You'd be the one hired because you can do what I can do a lot quicker. So that's why it's good to keep up with AI. But the thing is about AI right now, I'm waiting to test the current models. There's a reason, and it's because OpenAI is making a pretty bold claim right now. They're claiming that their AI, I'm assuming that it has advanced neural networking going on, which means that they're trying to make it think and process information like a human being. In other words, it's trying to simulate the human mind or the human brain. And if it's actually doing that, that's what I'm waiting to see, then it's going to be a lot more accurate, and it might be able to pull off some of these one prompt shows, like where you give it a prompt and it builds a full stack app out of it, and it does it pretty damn accurately. And that's what I'm waiting to test. Because if it does, then that means we're getting closer to the day where AI is going to be able to build an app, and it's going to make people feel like, well, why the hell should I be learning how to build an app when AI already does it for me? And that's when I will tell you, well then, start programming AI, start building AI, because that's what I've been doing. I've been programming AI, creating LLMs, working with LLMs, any company projects that I have right now that are secret, and I'm waiting to, like, build and put out into the, to release to the public and monetize them. They're AI based projects or AI powered projects. So, like, I don't just do things the old way anymore. You can. So, like, if you think you can go learn full stack development and just develop apps the old way, you're not gonna be relevant anymore. You're gonna get left behind because everything is, whether everybody likes it or not, is intertwined with AI in some way now. And that's the plan moving forward for the industry. So that's like that's just the way it is, and it might suck for some people, but for some of us it's pretty exciting. So, like, for me, I think it's exciting. A lot of people, they think it sucks. So I have senior engineers in my industry, in my network, and they think they don't have a problem with me, but they don't like that I like AI because they feel like, man, you're liking and building these things that are going to replace us. That's how they feel about it. Whereas me, I don't feel like that. I feel like, nah, we're building and creating these things to make our world better. At least that's how I see it. And then some way we're going to evolve from that, as human beings, and take ourselves to the next level. And there's going to be jobs that evolve from that. It's not going to be like, oh, well, there's the end of all jobs now. Like you hear all this doom and gloom. I mean, people thought that when the telephone came out, or like when email came out, or when any new technology comes out, people start thinking doom and gloom. And look at the world now. I mean, it's a lot better because of those advancements, and that's how I think about AI. All right, so give me a second. Let me check that alert. Let me make sure before we move on to the next part of the slide. I'm on one screen still, so forgive me. Okay, nobody. Good. All right, so, oh, whoa. Let's go back. All right, so this is from Coding Bootcamp, this picture. That's a guy that works at Microsoft, and this is how he set up his remote environment to work in, like where, it took him 9 months to go through the boot camp. It took him 9 months. He had to go through the boot camp, and this is how he set up his at-home working environment, laying down. So I was saying, like I commented in the past, this guy's pretty smart because his back ain't getting tortured. But at the same time, I'd fall asleep. Like me, I'd fall asleep trying to work like that. I get too comfortable and I just crash out. So if you're able to do it, hell yeah. But me, like I sit down and at my desk, and sometimes I have to stand up because the sitting down all the time really hurts your back. And then after you stand up for a while, your feet start hurting and your neck starts hurting because you're standing up. Your shoulders and your neck get numb and your feet start killing you, and you gotta sit back down again. So like I have one of those desks that raise up. It's a standing desk, so like you can raise it up so you can stand, you can raise it back down so you can sit down. It's like one of those electric ones. And so that's why I got it out, because I know I can't lay down like that. No way, I'll fall asleep. But the guy's making $70 grand a year, right, at Microsoft. That's the whole thing, laying down every day coding. All right, so we got, so why don't more people get into tech? So there's a lot of demand, and there's a reason why there's so much demand, and there's a reason why a lot of people want to get into tech, but a lot of people don't get into tech. And it's because it's hard. Like I tell people, it is hard. Let me put a big red squiggly line over there if I can. It's not easy. So like people are always looking for the easy way. They want to get in the easy way. Like, you have a lot of these boot camps out there that are like trying to sell people their program, and they'll tell you, yeah, I can get you hired in 3 months or 6 months. And so for some people, it's possible if you already have previous experience, but if you have zero experience and you're not picking up the information very quickly, you're not able to learn that fast, it's not going to happen. When you're learning these high-level concepts and all these processes that go on that are involved in building software, it's not going to happen in just 6 months. Otherwise, everybody would be doing that. We'd have a lot of software jobs. Everybody would be working right now. Everybody's good. I mean, you have experienced software engineers that they were working as senior engineers for decades, and they're out of a job right now because they let their skill sets get stale. Like, they were working in an old code base, for example, or on old programming languages or old technologies, and then they find themselves without a job, and they don't know how to use newer technologies or newer programming languages. I mean, they can, because I've had senior engineers that I know that they can look at any programming language and use it, but there's a difference between being able to look at any programming language, because I could do the same. I can look at any programming language and tell you what it's doing. But there's a difference between looking at a programming language and being able to just pick it up and use it, and versus knowing it in depth, like knowing it like the back of your hand, like being a specialist. And that's what you have to be hireable. You have to know what you want to do and really hone in on it and be a specialist, like specialize in it. Because only somebody that specializes is going to know all the intricate details of that programming language or whatever tech stack that they're learning. Only somebody that specializes is going to know all those high level details like that. Me just looking at the programming language, I know what it's doing, because most programming languages have things in common. Like they all do. All programming languages have things in common, but they also have things that are unique to themselves. So like some programming languages have things that are unique to that programming language, and I'm not going to know that because I don't use that programming language every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like if, for example, like an Android developer, somebody that works in Kotlin, and they develop mobile apps natively in Kotlin for the Apple App Store, for example. Kotlin probably has built-in custom processes or methods or functions or whatnot that are unique to that language, and I have no idea what they are because I don't use Kotlin. I use JavaScript. Like I'm a JavaScript developer. You know what I mean? And it's vice versa. If I'm a Kotlin developer and all I do is Kotlin, I know all the ins and outs of Kotlin, but when I look at JavaScript or React or React Native, for example, since we're using mobile developers as an example, I can look at React Native and I can understand it because programming languages have things in common, but I'm not going to know all the fine details of it. I'm not going to know I'm not going to know the full extent of what I can do with it because it's not something I use all the time. So that's what I mean. There's a fine distinction there, and they had some of them, like I met when I was at the coding boot camp. I met a couple guys there that were senior level that were like, oh, I'm just trying to future proof my career. So they were there learning JavaScript tech stack at the time because they were trying to future proof their career and stay relevant. And that's like the competitiveness of the industry. That's what we're dealing with. We have a lot of people that's why they say we have to stay up to date. We're lifelong learners. In other words, like we have to keep up to date with our stack or with our specialization. And anytime there's changes, major changes, breaking changes, new updates, new tech tools and technologies, we have to keep up with all that. We're expected to. We can't just learn it once and apply it the same way forever. That's not how it works. So if that's the type of job you're looking for, that's another reason why it's hard. You're not going to like that because unless you like learning new things consistently, because that's how the tech industry is you're constantly a self-taught learner. You're constantly learning. So the first option we had, we were talking about the 4 paths here that I was telling you about earlier, is the luxury option, which is go back to university, dedicate 4 years, spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, depending on your situation, whether you qualified for a grant or not. You'll be looking at over $100,000 for a computer science degree. That's a bachelor degree though, not an associate. So like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I've seen students sell short, and they'll either, if they didn't drop out of the computer science program because computer science is hard. If you look it up, computer science in the United States, computer science has the highest dropout rate in the United States, and it's because it's difficult, it's hard, it's not easy. And some students, they basically suck out, they sell out, they go for the associate's degree because they can't do it anymore. They're like, this is getting too hard, I'm just going to get the associates, and then maybe switch majors. Or some of people just switch majors and they don't even get the associates, they just switch majors and just quit on it. They just do something different because it's too hard. And I'm gonna tell you that those people, like companies, if you're looking at jobs online, none of them are looking for an associate's in computer science. You might as well have not even wasted your time. Like everywhere they're looking for a bachelor in computer science. If they're looking for a degree, it's a bachelor degree. If they're looking for a bachelor in computer science. I have not once seen a posting that said as a qualification associate's degree in computer science. So I'm just letting you know, if you're going to go to university, don't waste your time on an associate's degree in computer science. You got to go for the gusto. You got to go for the 4 years at least a bachelor's degree. If you want to go for the master's, even better. And you're going to spend a lot of money, and you're going to receive a very in-depth education. So like what this one doesn't say, because I didn't write this, NewCamp gives you some of this data, so it sounds a little bit biased here. Like I'm not afraid to admit that. I'll even tell them that because I'm a university student, so like I have the real experience of what it's like to be in a university learning computer science. And I'm also studying there, I'm double majoring, just so you know, I double major in computer science and artificial intelligence. So the information we're given at the university is very in-depth. We read a lot of technical articles, we read a lot of technical books, we build projects, we have meetings, all the similar stuff you're going to get with a coding bootcamp, except it's slower paced and it's a lot more in depth. But it costs a hell of a lot more money too. You're going to spend a lot more time and money, a lot more. But then you have boot camps, coding boot camps. They blew up and got famous because they make those claims that, hey, you come to my boot camp, I can get you a 6-figure job in 6 to 9 months. That's what they're advertising, but they can't guarantee it because nobody can guarantee anybody anything. So if they're trying to guarantee you something, that's already a red flag. You can't guarantee anything because you don't know how quickly someone learns, or whether they're capable of learning at all, or whether they're capable of building software. Because it's like the old saying goes, not everybody's meant to do everything. You might have an interest in it, but then discover that you just can't do it, and that's fine. If you can't do it, we'll find something else that you love that you can do. And that's how I looked at it, right? That's how I looked at it. It's the same thing for me. I had a lot of men in my family were were military men, and some of them, even the ones that weren't, and a lot of them, they came home from the military, and even the ones that were already home, and they're working blue collar jobs. And so, like, naturally, I found my place working a blue collar job, but it wasn't for me. I couldn't stand it. Whereas they all love it, I hate it, and they're looking at me like I'm the black sheep because I can't stand working at a construction job. You know what I mean? I don't want to be doing none of that. Like, it's just not my cup of tea. Um, and that's how it is. Everybody's different. We're all built differently. We all learn differently. And that's what I would say is, like, that's why there's not one approach, like a one fits all type of approach to these things. So that's what you got to be careful of when you're looking at any program, is that anybody trying to apply a one size fits all approach doesn't really work. Doesn't work for everybody. You have to get into it and see if that program's actually going to be beneficial to you or not. But I'm gonna tell you, like, in hindsight, yeah, New Camp Coding Boot Camp, it did benefit me. Like, there's a lot that I learned there that I didn't have to learn from scratch when I went to the apprenticeship. So, like, it gave me like a boost. I was a little bit ahead, even at the university, because I started off at the coding boot camp. When I went to the university, or when I went to the apprenticeship, I was already ahead of the game. I already knew I already had an introduction, or at some level I've had exposure to some of the things that we were expected to be learning. So I was already one step ahead of everybody, and that helped me keep my grades high. Because at the university, I've kept a 4.0 GPA since I've started. Every semester, I'm on the president's list and the dean's list for a 4.0 GPA every single semester. Like, straight A's the whole way through. I'm already in my senior year. And I've been able to do that because of the combination of my experiences. Because at one level, I've had that and dedication, right? Like, because you're not going to get A's if you're not dedicated, if you're not serious about it, if you just don't care. As long as it's a passing grade, if you have that attitude, well, as long as it's a passing grade, and you don't care, and you're just going to look at your assignments or whatever you're doing as just real cursory, I don't care. I just glance at it real quick. All right, good enough. I'm just gonna submit this, and you didn't care if it was trash or not. Like, that's not gonna get you. That's not gonna make you hireable. So just because you get a certificate somewhere doesn't make you hireable. But they're good if you take it serious and you do your best there. You pay attention and you're focused, and you're actually you know, like, you're not lying to yourself. Like, you actually know that the information you're learning, you're actually able to comprehend it. Then, yeah, there's a high likelihood that when you finish, you're going to get hired somewhere. That's the difference. You got to know when something's for you and something's not. And the coding boot camp, or even a university, or even most people out there, they have a reason why they're not going to just tell you, hey, this ain't for you, you should go figure something out. And it's because you're a paying client. You're giving them money, you're paying. So, and that's the one thing I liked about New Camp Coding Boot Camp, was because they didn't do that. Like, if you start failing, they don't just keep you paying money and just give you a certificate. They let you know, hey, you're not doing well, and they'll even remove you from the program. So most places won't do that. Most places, as long as you're paying, they don't care. They have an attitude like, just give them a certificate, make everybody happy, and we move on. And they don't even care what happens in your future at that point. And those are the places you want to be weary of, because they put on the show that they care about your future, but in reality they don't. They just care about your money. All right, so, but yeah, traditional boot camp. They also, some of these boot camps have income share agreements, and what those are is basically that they'll guarantee you a job if you successfully finish their program. So you have to successfully finish the program and demonstrate to them that you have the skills required for one of their partner companies that are hiring, and then they'll place you there. They'll guarantee you that job, and they'll place you there. But you're sacrificing years. So, like, what you're doing is that Basically, you don't have any more freedom to work wherever you want. You have to work where they want you to work for 3 to 5 years, and on top of that, uh, whatever salary you're making, they're getting a large portion of that salary. They're getting a cut out of every paycheck, probably at least a third of it out of every paycheck they keep, because that was part of the contract you signed, the income share agreement. Uh, for that was the price that you were willing to pay. Because you have to think about it, like you can't be mad at them for it. You know what I mean? They're there getting people jobs, obviously. It's actually um, your fault because you went into that agreement and knowingly and you signed that agreement. And so that's just a FYI. If you see a boot camp or even a program with that agreement and you sign it, you're gonna get a job if you finish right. If you finish the program, but it's gonna cost a lot of your time and your money, and you're not gonna have the freedom to just say, well, I can still pay you guys, but I want to go work at this other company. They're not gonna let you until you fulfill the agreement. Then you have the freedom to go do whatever you want. But not all boot camps offer this. There's companies out there there's companies that offer it only to college students, like graduates. So you have to really have a bachelor in computer science or something that's related to coding, like that's related to tech, in order for them to take you in and train you. So like there's some places that are like that too. But the majority of them I think are for college graduates. There are some though that they don't care if you're a college graduate and they're like a coding boot camp, but they have income share agreements. You'll have to look into that if you're interested in something like that. But just know that if you don't finish, if you get tied into an income share agreement, and you decide, you know what, I can't finish this program, and you quit, now you owe them a bunch of money. You're gonna end up owing them a lot of money because now they want now they want you to pay them back for their time because you were supposed to get a job and then with one of their partners, and then when their partner was paying you, they got a cut out of it. That's how they were getting paid. But if you don't make it that far, if you just quit, now you owe them back pay all the money that. So that's the drawback is that what if you figure out, well, I don't want to do this, I can't do this, or I just don't want to do it, and then you try to quit. Well, good luck. You're gonna owe them probably 30,000 or more. Who knows? They have a penalty if you don't finish the program. It's usually like an outrageous sum of money, so you got to watch out for that too. You can teach yourself online, self-taught, which can cost you nothing, because anybody can just look stuff up online and just study it, and then try to find a way to put it into practice. This is how I tried to start. I tried to start self-taught when I wanted to learn software. I attempted it. And what I didn't like about it was feeling like I was in the blind. Like I felt blind. Like I was like I tell people, I was in the middle of the ocean and all you see is sea and sky everywhere, no matter where you look. I didn't know what the hell to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what I should be learning. I didn't know anything. Like, you know what I mean? You don't know how to put everything together to make sense of any of it. I didn't know if the programming language that I seen was the right one that I would be learning to be building what I wanted to build. Like I wasn't proficient at researching on Google. Like you get really proficient at researching on Google as a developer because that's part of your gig. Like that's part of your job. Like you're gonna be doing a lot of research and staying up to date with things or learning new things along the way. But so that's what I mean. In reality, you're gonna be self-taught your whole damn life. So like some people wear it like a badge, like I'm self-taught and that's how I started, and they remain self-taught. But no matter how you look at it, you're going to be self-taught. Even if you start at a university or a boot camp or anywhere else, you're going to be self-taught your whole life because at some point you have to become proficient enough to be able to start teaching yourself to stay up to date with things. Unless you have the money to shell out and keep attending coding boot camps, then go for it. But if you don't, then you got to keep up with all that yourself. That's why specializing is the key because, for example, if you want to be like, I'll use the same example, a front-end React developer, then all you got to do is keep up with all the latest things going on with React development. And you know, I mean, that's not hard to do, but it is hard. But the hard part is setting apart the time to really study it and stay up to date with it and see what's going on with the future of React. And then waiting for those things to unfold and keeping up with everything within that whole within that whole area of development. All right, so we've got um, so those are kind of the pros and cons. That you don't have anybody like instructors, professors, mentors. You don't have anybody by yourself. The other option was get a mentor, and that's when I created the mentorship program because we're like 5 days a week, a couple hours a day, live. Like we're online live. Like we're not. I don't just say, oh, go on my website and watch these videos and copy and paste this stuff, and I'll see you in a week. Like that's not how I do it. That's how good coding boot camps or universities do it. They don't spend all the time with you. Like they just have set periods when they see you, and they're expected to go online and just work through whatever materials that they have online, online somewhere. And the way we do it is we show up live together and we get to coding live and we learn live. That's how we do it here for our mentorship program. And then you always have access to a mentor, like at least with my program. I don't know how some of these other mentorship programs out there, there's not very many out there, but I don't know how these other ones work, but I know for ours, like, yeah, you can DM me anytime if you're a mentee, like if you're one of my mentees, you can DM me anytime, I don't care. And if you're working on something, you need help, or if you had homework and you need help, or maybe you got stuck and you need help, or before maybe you need us to go over something before the next session, or you have those options there. Mentorship versus you have access to a live person all the time. It's not always you're not always alone. All right, so with the coding boot camp, I can't say it that way either, because with the coding boot camps and the universities, you're not always alone either. But you're alone, I don't know, maybe depending on the program, you're alone maybe 50 to 75% of the time. Whereas in my program, you're never alone. The only time you're alone is because you chose to be alone, because you chose not to reach out and be active with us. The average completion rates for online learning are 5 to 15%. And that's for like all these programs that don't have these key strategies built in. So New Camp Coding Bootcamp came out with these 7 key strategies, and there's a reason they did, because there's data online, not just from New Camp Coding Bootcamp, but from other sources that state that if a learning program doesn't have these 7 key strategies built into them, then your chances of succeeding are 5 to 15%. But if they do have these strategies built into them, then you're 70 to 85% likely to finish these courses or whatnot that you find online. And right away, you'll see with these 7 key strategies, it disqualifies a lot of those online courses you see out there, because a lot of them just don't have some of this structure built into them. So, of course, one of them is the investment, your time and financial investment. It's going to get your attention, right? Like if you have to put in 30 hours, 40 hours a week at a university, and in the end you're going to owe like $120,000 for a bachelor degree, that's got your attention, right? I mean, it should. If it doesn't, then what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Because it should have your attention. Like you should be taking that really seriously. That's what they mean is some of these programs, that everybody's got to pay bills, so like if they do cost money, so that way people can, because people are giving you their time to teach you too. Like they're investing their time to teach you and to take you to that next level, and not everybody can afford to give that free. And but at the same time, it's value. It's value that you should be taking advantage of. And then if you have a lot of time or money invested, it's likely to keep your attention. If you just went and paid $10 on Udemy or $20 on Udemy for a video, and you can watch it or finish it anytime you want, you'd likely never even finished it. You probably never even watched it past the first day. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of those types of programs versus actual coding boot camps or universities or mentorship programs like how we have ours structured. You need a real deadline and a real deadline. So like if you're given a deadline, you're expected to do it. Like in our programs or university or a coding boot camp, you're gonna fail if you don't do it. You're gonna fail big time. It's gonna be it's gonna be your fault. You can't blame them because you failed. You gotta take responsibility for your own actions there. But with something like Udemy, for example, you go on there, go buy you a Udemy course. There's no real deadline. It's a fake deadline. You can finish it whenever you want. There's no penalty. And you need to combine synchronous and asynchronous learning. So these are JavaScript concepts, synchronous and asynchronous programming in JavaScript. We're not going to get into that. But basically, you need to have coursework that you do on your own time, and you need to also have coursework that you do with your peers and with your instructor, right? So like it's a combination. Um, Also, you need peer pressure, but good peer pressure, which means that maybe you're all encouraging each other, working together, helping each other out. It's hard to get that. It's hard to get people to do that, but when you do, it's great. So like if we can get people in a space and we're all active and actively learning and helping each other, it's a better learning environment than everybody just hanging out there, um, not willing to help each other out or learn something together. Usually if you, like, for example, if you took a concept and we're all talking about it and implementing it, you're likely to get more from it, especially if when you see different people's points of view on it, you're likely to learn more from that process than just any one person talking by themselves or demonstrating by themselves. You and your work need to be seen, which means that courses like Udemy, nobody sees your work. I mean, just like the previous example, on those online courses, you don't even have nobody you're working with. You're just alone. They don't even know you're even working on it, right? You're just working through some online course, watching videos, copying and pasting. And I tell people all the time, copying and pasting is bad for you. Don't do it. But everybody still does it. So we got you and your work need to be seen, and with the Udemy course, it's not going to be seen. Your work's not going to be seen. But with the university, a boot camp, or my program, your work does get seen. Like with my program, it's live right there. Your work gets seen while you're working on it, and we give you immediate feedback. With the university or boot camp, your work's going to get seen by your instructor or your professor, and they're going to give you feedback when the time comes to give you feedback. But you still get the feedback. That's important, that you get that you know whether you did something right or wrong and what you could do better and things like that. And of course, incentives. Like I said, the biggest incentive for anybody is the job after they're done learning, right? Like anybody wants to finish a course and get a certificate, and then when they're done with that, get the job related to that whole training, right? Like everybody wants that, but the reality is not everybody gets that. So like when you think about life, we take chances at everything. Like everything we do in life's a chance. We take risks. It's like when you go to the casino and you're gambling, right? Like some people might disagree with me, but I don't care. Like I'm just telling you, how my life experience has been, is that some people, they go to the casino and they win big. Some people, they lose, and that's how it is in life with most things. Like you have to be willing though to take that chance to win big, because not everybody's going to end up a full stack software engineer. You know what I mean? That went to the boot camp, but some people do, and maybe they were the ones that put in the most work. Maybe they were the ones that were networking more. Like they would have the best grades. People within the program were willing to vouch for them. You know what I mean? And that's the bonus of being active with people and communicating with people. Because if you're going to stay quiet the whole time and just following along and you're not active on social networks, or you're not networking with anybody, you're likely not going to eventually get where you want to get. If you did, you probably just got really, 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 really lucky. But I try to tell people in life, even real estate agents, if you want to be a real estate agent, or you want to go flipping houses, or you want to go flip cars, or whatever it is, it's all it feels like there's luck into it. I don't really believe in luck, but basically it feels like I know it kind of like I guess you could say that, like I said, everything is a risk. Like you take risks at everything. You know, if you want to go buy that house and think you're gonna flip it, well, there's a good chance that you're gonna be stuck with that house and it never sells, right? It's the same scenario. Same thing with the cars. Same thing with anything in life you're gonna do. Like you're taking a risk in anything you do, but you want to make sure it's a smart risk, like a risk that you've done your homework, you know what all the pros and cons are, and for you it's a educated risk. I guess I could say. You know what I mean? It was a smart gamble, basically. It's like a professional gambler versus just some everyday gambler. Like I can tell you right now, there's professional gamblers, and they win. They win probably like whereas a normal gambler would probably lose 9 times out of a 10, they're probably winning 8 times out of a 10 or 9 times out of 10. And the reason for that is because they study the game professionally. Like they'll go study poker like the back of their hand, and they actually play. They got the experience. They're good at their game. Whether it's bluffing or not, whatever it is, they know all the statistics, all the ins and outs. And it's the same thing with anything gambling, right? The professionals take it serious. The not professionals, they just go in there and give their money away, and that's what I mean about life. You can be the professional, or you can be the one that just doesn't care. So think about that too. All right, you need assignments that actually get you a job, and that's what I mean here is that's like I've said before. It is a little bit hard not to do that with software, but there I guess it could get screwed up. There could be somebody's program that's just they really don't know how to get you to that space where you're hireable. But luckily, there's not too many places like that. Most of these places that have a structure and some type of really serious program going on, they have the assignments that actually help you get a job there. So I would say most coding boot camps, most universities, they would already should know what assignments that you need to progress. You know, of course, they're gonna get progressively harder, but they're gonna start easy, like I said. But once you finish the program, you should be technically hireable. All right. So what checks all these boxes? That doesn't cost a fortune. Of course, it is you can. So like I try to tell people, they are great. Boot camp's great. I went there. I started there after I attempted my self-taught. I went there and I still use a lot of what they taught me even now, because they do teach you a lot there. And there were people there at the time when I went. They were getting jobs when they graduated. Not everybody did, of course, because a lot of people they just weren't networking, or they got really low grades. They weren't maybe they weren't nobody was vouching for them, or they just weren't actively applying all the time. And you can't just stop learning code. Like you can't just stop coding. So like for example, if you finish a coding boot camp, you can't just get your certificate and think you're gold and then stop programming. You have to keep programming every day. You have to keep coding and building stuff every day, because that's what makes you better is building. So you got to keep solving problems. You got to keep building apps every day. Have something that you're working on that's coding related. Even if you're not working as a developer yet, you should still be doing something developer related every day. Because if you just sit there doing nothing every day, but you think, well, I learned it at one point, that doesn't matter. Like you're not going to get the job. You're wasting your time. Because when that technical interview comes, you're not going to know what the hell to do. That technical interview is going to be tough. All right, so the coding boot camps they have there. We'll just click. All right, there we go. We got web development fundamentals, which will get your foot in the door. We got front end web development, but this one alone isn't hireable. So I know I said foot in the door. I meant like for the boot camp. This program alone doesn't get you hireable. This is just like if you have zero experience, it's recommended that you start here. And then you have front end web and mobile, full stack, and back end. So these three programs will get you hired, will make you hireable. This one makes you hireable to cybersecurity. And the job hunting is the last boot camp, but in this one, this is where they help you get a job. So like they help you do interview prep, algorithm and data structure studying. Study more of that. Networking, where you're networking, they help you. They show you techniques to network, what you should be doing when you're applying for jobs, and then they help you get your resume ready, your social profiles ready, all that stuff here with this boot camp. Uh, and they have one big boot camp, which is this one. This is the biggest boot camp. So the previous boot camps were about $3,000 or less, so they're cheap boot camps. They're not very expensive, but they have a lot of value. The complete software engineering path is the most expensive boot camp. This one's $5,000, but it's because you get everything in one package. Like you get the fundamentals, you get full stack, you get the back end, and then you get the job hunting. This back end is just a little bit different because in this in the full stack web and mobile, you're getting backend, but you're getting backend with Node.js and Express, MongoDB, things like that. This backend here is different because you're learning Python and you're going into SQL and DevOps and things like that. So these two together make you even better. When I went just for this one. I took web fundamentals, I went into full stack web and mobile, and then they were helping me do all the job hunting and things like that. But they didn't have this one available when I went there. They didn't have backend SQL, DevOps, or Python. I learned Python at the university I attend. I learned SQL at the university I attend. I learned DevOps at the university I attend. I also learned DevOps at the apprenticeship. And so like that's what I mean is like, but at the new camp I learned a lot about full stack web and mobile development, whereas at the university we learned very little bit about full stack web and mobile development. We learned more about other software, other programming languages besides JavaScript. Like at the university we were learning C, C++, Java, Python, things like that. They do have JavaScript there at that university I attend. They have React Native, they have vanilla JavaScript, React Native, web development, classes, and now they do though. They started doing that recently. Before when I first started, they didn't have any of that at the university, but universities, if you notice, they started incorporating a lot of that because web development suddenly became very valuable, very relevant. Whereas in the past, people didn't care about web developers, they didn't take them serious. Now web development's tough. It's not like it used to be. It's tough. It's a lot harder. It's a lot more serious. So those are the boot camps. One reason is new camp's the best boot camp is because they're affordable, flexible, and structured, and they are the cheapest boot camp in the United States. I'm telling you right now, any boot camp that's in the United States that provides you instructors and a community of students, and they have an online course and all the things we talked about are usually way more expensive than New Camp. New Camp is they market themselves as the most affordable boot camp. They also have part-time boot camps. They don't just have full-time boot camps. They have part-time boot camps. So that's the plus about them. And then if you use my link to register to New Camp, which would be great, it does help me out, but it helps you out too because you'll get the 5% off registration, and then I can get you the early bird discount, which is anywhere, depending on the boot camp, it can be up to $400 off the boot camp, which is even more off the boot camp. So in other words, it makes the boot camp even cheaper for you, right? Oh yeah, and the other thing about the boot camps that I should have talked about is that if you apply to them, you can apply for zero down. Like in other words, you pay zero till you graduate. They have that option where that's the one I qualified for, was zero till I graduate, where you pay nothing, you finish the boot camp, and then when you graduate, they bill you monthly. For me, it was $150 a month. And for anybody else, it could be different. But I'm just giving you an idea of what you're looking at. They also have another plan. If you don't get approved for that one, the other one could be monthly, where you're paying every month. You make just a monthly payment, maybe $150. I don't know. I didn't go through that one, but I know it's a monthly payment as you're going through the boot camp. So every month you're making a monthly payment, but you're actively going through the boot camp. So you're not going to be out of the boot camp unless you're failing to make your payments. Either that, or you can just pay all up front if you got it like that, right? You can just pay all up front. Alright, so this one's our full stack development mentorship program, currently 50% off, $50 a week right now. So I tell people, if you're interested in joining us, I can give you a free demo. And then if you're interested in at least a week, because it's $50 a week, you can pay me the $50 so you can get mentored for a week, and then if you decide to stay, you decide to stay. If you feel like, no, this is too much for me, it's too hard, or or this just ain't the right fit for me, then you're free to leave. I don't tie you into no contract. I don't tie anybody into a contract. I tie you, like, my contracts are different. It's more like it sets the agreement down between what I'm trying to teach you, so we have an understanding of what you're learning and what our roles are. And then we have a student code of conduct to make sure everybody's behaving properly and professionally. And then, but other than that, you're free to go anytime you want. You can leave this while you're in the session if you want. I'm not going to later on go after you for any amount of money because you took off. So I make mine a lot more flexible, but it's mainly because I've had people, like one of my students, for example, she didn't want to do full stack development. She just needed to learn enough JavaScript to pass her university class. So I worked with her for 3 weeks, I believe it was, and then she passed her university class, and she said she had a good experience and she was going to come back in the future, and I hope she does. But at least that's like my program has many ways to benefit people. You could be going to a coding boot camp and you're like, hey, I just want to take this on the side, not every week, but here and there, and just to help me when I need it. And I got you. We could do it like that. Like, there's different ones. I've had university, like I said, university students come, and I have people that come for full stack development. Like, I have a couple students that are like, hey, I want to learn full stack development. I want to actually be able to build a full stack app. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So like that's the difference there. We're not going to go over these again, and I encourage you to start the chapter in your life. So if you really want to be a software engineer, be serious about it. It's like I tell people, don't talk about it, be about it. I always tell people that.
Use your link.
Yes, you can use my link. I already told you guys that, but But anyway, sometimes I forget that, believe it or not, so I need a reminder. But don't talk about it, be about it. That's what I tell people. I always tell people that, because those of us that actually put in the work, put in the time, make the sacrifices, and work hard at it, we're the ones that benefit from it, right? We get somewhere, right? We do something. We get a measure of success rather than getting nothing. So yeah, win-win. You gotta go get it. Because software is a win-win. It's great. It's fun. So normally this is the Q&A part. If anybody's got questions. Anybody got questions? No questions. Oh my goodness. Alright, so if you just got here, I do have, or if you don't know Discord, in the upper right hand corner you can use the chat bubble to speak, because I'm still sharing my screen. And then right here you can use the hand symbol if you want to speak on stage. If you're new and you haven't introduced yourself, you don't have to, but it'd be cool if you did, if you tell us how you found us, what your current level of experience in coding is, things like that. But you don't have to. Well, we got somebody named New Career, huh? What's going on? Alright, so yeah, we do have a YouTube channel, so let me drop that in the link. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So, I'll give you guys the link to the YouTube channel. It's going to be here. So yeah, there you go. So that's the link to the YouTube channel. We don't have much content in there, but we're recording these events, and then we're putting them on the YouTube channel for people that either missed the event, or maybe you want to go over the information later on when it's available. Then if you subscribe, you'll get a notification when I post the video. You don't have to subscribe, of course. I can't tell you to subscribe, but if you want to subscribe, then you'll get the notification. Pretty soon we're going to be doing videos of content, of software related content. So I'm still getting things together. Like I said, right now we're going through a phase where we're transitioning out of Discord into a professional online community on Slack. I believe that's the one, and that's why I said if anybody has any suggestions, like maybe a different community software that you think I should use, and so I can check it out before I lock it in with Slack, because I'm about to lock it in with Slack. I've been doing enough research. I think I've seen what I needed to, and I've worked with Slack before, like I said, and I think Slack's really cool. So yeah, and if you're interested in following us to that community, you can DM me, like I said, just DM me and let me know you're interested in following us to Slack, and then I'll send you a link when the time comes. Otherwise, if you're not interested, then just don't say nothing. And I wish you well. But yeah, we're gonna be moving. We're gonna be moving to a better community. All right. Just because I've been having difficulties with Discord, I don't want to go through all that again. You can watch the video and you'll hear me talk all about it. But yeah, Discord's been kind of like a semi-good experience, not too good of an experience for me, especially trying to build a dev community. I've seen dev communities on Slack work out a lot better than this, and Slack software is a lot more reliable. It's faster too. It's more proficient. It's more reliable. All right. So if nobody has any questions, we could get into something else. If anybody has any questions, normally I try to go till noon. Oh yeah, that was the other update. Is we normally have a group project that we're working on, but I ended up closing the group project. As far as it's not closed permanently, but the people that are currently part of the group project, that are the ones that have contributed to it, are the ones that are moving forward with it. I haven't, and the reason is because I have not been able to onboard anybody else. Every week I do these events, and I've been trying to onboard anybody new for the front end, because me and one other person already. His name's Brendan. We already pretty much got all the JavaScript and back end part for the MVP. We pretty much got it all figured out already. It's pretty much done. So there's nothing to do there. But for the front end, we still have some tasks on the front end that we're hoping we can get some people to pick up on, because when we try to take this thing to market, if it were to monetize, then the only people that are going to benefit from that are the people that contributed, right? Because I don't think it's fair for people to benefit from a project that they didn't actively contribute to, or that they didn't really work on, right? So that's the deal with that. We're getting ready to, if you're interested in that program, I can tell you more about it, because once I make the switch to Slack, that program's going to be closed. Well, of course, on Slack, we're going to have other projects that we're going to get into building, but that's different from this one that we have right now. The one that we have right now is closing this one, because we're already there, almost there at the MVP level, where we're gonna attempt to take it to market and see if we can get some active users on it. We just all we have to do on the back end is implement user authentication and login, and then limit them to how many tokens they can use for the AI. On the front end, we still have a lot of the front end that needs to be configured to make it look nice and give it good aesthetics, and we need to add a couple more pages to it and things like that, like an about, a contact, and then we just have to, the main part of the app, just add the nav bar, footer, and maybe a couple other nice touch-ups, just a couple of things, get everything nice and orderly on it, and then we're going to be ready to go. And then if the project ends up taking off, then we're transition to a cross-platform framework like React Native. That's when we're going to use React Native, build it in React Native, or make that transition to React Native, and then put it in the app stores. But if it doesn't take off, well, then we all got it on our resume and people can talk about it. And there's some people that are like, hey, if I put this on my resume and the employer wants to call you about it, is that cool? And I'm like, well, yeah, because we built it, so it's cool. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? So you get benefits for that if you want to get involved in that. I seen Leisha, you were trying to, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right, but I seen you typing. I didn't know if there was something you were going to say. Maybe you changed your mind, or maybe I answered it already without knowing. It's up to you. But if there's something that you guys want to talk about besides that, you have any questions, or maybe there's something that you need help with, let me know right now, right while we're on. But yeah, that's still with the project. With the project, we're getting ready to close it up. So if you want me to talk more about the project and show you what we're doing there for New Career and Lesha, if you guys want to see it, I can show you at least the plan that we built up for it, the project management software that we're using, and you can tell you a little bit more about the project. And if you're able to, if you feel like you're able to contribute to the front end, then I can onboard you on that project. Otherwise, Otherwise, we can just move on to something else, a different topic. It just depends on your experience. Like I try to make the project so it's beginner friendly, um, especially for the front end. So it's up to you. It's up to you if you want to get part of that. But do any of you guys have any questions or anything? Anything you want to go over? All right. All right. So anything in mind that you want me to go over? Maybe you're learning something. Maybe you had a question about something. So his was typing, so I'm gonna wait. Oh, you said it. All right. You said what is it that makes important things like arrays or algorithms hard to use? All right. So like algorithms, basically, if I can give you an idea of an algorithm, so algorithms were expected to be able to learn how to design algorithms, like how to actually design them. So it's both how they're used and the logic behind them. So an algorithm is more like, I guess, for anybody that might not know, but just like so that way you do know, if you didn't know, or maybe you have a better idea of what an algorithm is. But an algorithm is basically a set of instructions. So like basically like if you think about it, a good analogy is like a cookbook. Like if you want to make I don't know, pizza, we'll use pizza because I like pizza. So say you want to make a pizza at home and you have you have the ingredients, but you also have the step-by-step instructions where you combine the ingredients a certain way. You got to prepare everything a certain way, and then you got to cook it a certain way, and at the end of that, you got a desired outcome. And so you're following these ordered set of instructions. You're following these ordered set of step-by-step instructions where at the end of that you get a desired outcome, and that's what an algorithm is, and we're expected to design those. So like when we're talking about coding, like designing algorithms for code, in other words, we're trying to plan our logic. In other words, so like we're trying to take whatever, like if we're given a problem we have to solve, then we got to think through the problem and figure out a solution for it. And once we've done that, then we got to create an algorithm or design an algorithm that we're going to eventually translate into code. So then we take that algorithm and we translate it into code, because all code is basically that same thing, step-by-step instructions for the computer to follow for it to be able to do what you want it to do. So that's what an algorithm is. I don't know if that helps. Does that help, or did I just muddy the waters, or does that help you guys a little bit? All right, I'm gonna assume it helped. Unless you, oh yeah, his was typing. All right, I got you. His are all late. Since I'm not working with them too much, it gives an idea of why people dislike them so much. Yeah, it's because like I was saying, programming gets hard when you get into like the nitty gritty of it, of what it's really like, uh, building software and what's required. It gets tough, and people don't like tough. Some people they don't like hard. They want to just give up. Um, they want things easy. Well, you know what I mean. Like some people they want it easy, and this is not one of those things that just like. So for some people it could come easy because they have the mind to just soak things up like that, but it's still a very involved process. So for most of us it's not easy, right? It's a tough job. So, but it's enjoyable. I love it. Let me see why people. Yes. So we got the arrays. Like an array would be. Do you understand what an array is? Like if I can describe something a little bit. I'll wait for you to finish typing. All right. Sorry, I was in the introductions right now. All right, just looking things over while you're typing. All right, you said yes. Please go ahead with the raise. I do have notes I'm writing, so I can just look up the ideas you mentioned. All right. So like an array, that's a data structure. So like we have what we talk about in programming. We talk about data structures and algorithms like DSA. People call it DSA. And then there's other things we have to learn besides. So like when we start learning data structures and algorithms, we learn what an algorithm is, kind of like what I told you it was. And then we start learning how to design them. In other words, how to create them. And we do that during the problem solving process. And then with the data structures, we learn that too. When we first start out with data structures, we're learning, well, what is a data structure? In other words, it's structured data. It's a way for us to structure our data. Like we get in data and we have to structure it a certain way, for either our code or our program to be more efficient, like more optimized, or for ways so that way when we have a way to pull that data exactly what we need so that we can make it accessible to users, or other developers, that are working on our code, whatever it is. There's usually a need or a specific way we're expected to, like our data structure choice. So we have a bunch of built-in data structures. Like in JavaScript, we have the two basic built-in data structures are the array and the object. So we have an object literal and an array, and we also have the array of arrays, which is just an array nested in an array, learning how to work through or iterate through that and read our data through that. So and or manipulate our data using those different data structures is important. So like an array, that's basically what it is. It's just like how they call it a list in Python. It's like a list of data. Like we can put in JavaScript, we can put mixed data types. Like so we have data types like strings, numbers, booleans, all kinds of stuff, objects. And in JavaScript, just JavaScript by itself, we can mix those data types into one array. Whereas in other programming languages, we can't. Then we have to pick a data type. And but in JavaScript, it lets us either set up our array with mixed data types or with all the same data type. Like if we wanted to store, I don't know, an array, a list of like usernames, for example. For some reason, we chose. Normally, we wouldn't just choose this, but like not by itself. But normally it's like an object with nested arrays in it. Or vice versa, an array of objects of arrays. Who knows? It just depends on how we're structuring it. Usually, an array of objects. But but like for the sake of learning arrays, like we can have like an array of strings where we just have a bunch of string values that represent the usernames, and all it is like a list of usernames, whether it's their first names or last names. But either way, however we do it, it's important to learn. Normally we use an object for that, but it's just another. We still have to learn how to use an array. I mean, it's a basic data structure or built-in one, but it's also important to use it and learn how to use it. But that's the way the easiest way to think about it is it's just a list, like a list of values, whatever values we want to give. It's just a list. And that's how it functions as a list. But what makes learning DSA hard, like data structures and algorithms, hard because an array is a data structure. It's a type of data structure. What makes them hard is not just that we have to learn how to use them, how to use the built-in methods to manipulate and work with them, but also what makes it hard is big O analysis. Is his learning and understanding time and space complexity and how it relates to data structures and algorithms. In other words, like we have things like big O analysis or time and space complexity, and it basically, I guess, at a basic level, time complexity would be the execution time of our program. Is it going to be? We want it to be fast. We don't want it to be slow. So we got to take that into consideration. Space complexity, they both kind of can affect each other too, because the more space we consume in memory, the slower our program is going to be. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure the space that we're consuming, we're being very strategic with that, so that we can have faster apps. We want to give the user the best experience we can, basically. That's where user experience comes into play. Anything that I said, I'll wait for you to finish typing. I see you typing now. Oh yeah, but um, you can still, like, I know you're looking at, like, the simple stuff like console logs, alert messages, but who cares? Like, you can still um, look at arrays, like visit an array and then learn what the array methods are. What documentation do you use? Like, do you use a certain documentation that you're learning from? Oh, so you're using, are those two, like, I know Solar Learn is like an online course, but what about Encode? I never heard of it. Is it the same as Solar Learn, basically? Alright. Well, what about like MDN or W3 Schools? Have you looked at any of those? Like, I can get you a link, cause like MDN is like the main source I use for documentation. So like what documentation is basically it breaks down your programming language and shows you how you should be using it. So like MDN is going to be like a high level documentation, but if you're just learning, you can start out with W3 Schools and select JavaScript, and then you can start with W3 Schools first. Yeah, that's what MDN does. So the Mozilla Developer Network, they're like the biggest source for JavaScript for documentation. They're like one of the most well known and like very relied upon. Um, and they have a really good documentation. But it's higher level. It's more like high level. So like you want to start, if you're just starting, you want to start with W3 Schools because W3 Schools is easier to learn from. And then once you understand it in W3 schools, if you transition to MDN, you'll see what I'm talking about. MDN is going to be a lot tougher, but MDN is also way more in depth on a higher technical level, and you're gonna learn more from the MDN once you understand the concepts at a basic level. So like W3 schools is gonna give you the concepts at a basic level, but once you feel comfortable with, like, for example, if you go learn an array on W3 schools, uh, um, um, and then you go to look up an array, how it's implemented or used in Mozilla, the MDN, you're gonna see the difference. It's a lot. And then MDN also has a full list of methods, and other built-in tools within JavaScript, or methods that you're going to use to work with arrays, for example. Because an array, that's just the data structure, but the way you manipulate and work with that data structure, there's methods, there are functions that are called methods that are ways that you interact with that array, or that you manipulate that array, and you're expected to know at least the main methods, if not all of them. There's a bunch of them. Like, there's a bunch of methods, but there's certain ones that you're expected to know just at a base level, or have memorized at a base level. Yeah, MDN, like Michael, David, Nancy, MDN, just like that. So I can look it up for you. I'll share my screen real quick, and then, or I could send you a link actually, so I don't have to share my screen real quick. Let me just, I could have shared my screen, it didn't matter, right? Let me go to, there we go, MDN docs. Yes. So this is the MDN web docs here. I'll send, whoops, jeez, I can't believe I closed it, that was an accident. Alright, let's go back. So I'll send you the link here. So this is resources for developers, by developers, they say, but they document all the web technologies, including CSS, HTML, and JavaScript since 2005, they say. So, but it's a really, really good resource for it. All right, so Fistosian said, I don't know if I said your name right, maybe I did, but I searched JS cheat sheet on Google and I loved what I saw. Yeah, the JavaScript cheat sheet is a cool one. So like if you're just like, it's even cool sometimes, even like, because I don't have one anymore. I had one in print around the time I was first learning. I had one in print, and sometimes it was really helpful to reference that. Like I would have it next to me in print when I was programming, and but what it kind of did was, like, it was good to see all those JavaScript cheat sheet. Like, it's good to see that in front of you, so you have an idea of what you want to use. But don't let it make you lazy about using the documentation, because you don't want to then how do you say that, just rely on the cheat sheet and not go read about whatever it is you're doing at a higher level, because you still want to, like, read about it more in depth and understand all the fine details of what's going on. Oh yeah, so you said you started an account on Code Wars. All right, so that's good. I have an account on Code Wars too. So yeah, when you're ready to do some Code Wars, maybe we could do that. We'll see where I'm at next Sunday with the event, because I'm trying to see when that transition is going to take effect. If it takes effect by then, maybe on one of these we can do, because I've done that before, where we had maybe the second hour or the last half hour, we did like a simple Code Wars problem, and I walked you guys through that, like we would all do it together interactively, or we would, and then I'd walk you through the problem solving process at a basic level, where at least where it's at a basic level where we can get started, and I help you understand how to use the platform and things like that. So we can eventually do that too. I wouldn't wait till like how you said, when you start heading into deeper waters. I wouldn't wait. Like, I would still, even if it's really, really hard for you right now, I would still at least go visit Code Wars and attempt the easy problems and see how far you can get, and just spend like maybe an hour a day on Code Wars, even if it's half an hour a day, and then you can go back to whatever way you were studying before. But that's how I would. That's how I would do it. It's like the problem solving on Code Wars is important. That's like a important part of learning. Yeah, yeah. I try to like when we do the problem solving too. If I can, I try to explain everything and break it down to you guys, like the one those of you guys that are just starting, so that way you can get an idea of what's going on, so you can understand. Try to understand what we're doing on there, because that's the key, is understanding what we're doing, and being able. So that way, like you can attempt to apply that yourself. Or is just typing something. I find myself clicking inspect on random legit websites and just nosing through the code. Yeah, that's a good thing though, because then you're gonna get your eyes used to seeing the HTML structure, maybe the CSS structure, and then if they let you, then you'll get a glance at the JavaScript. But most of them, they won't let you get a glance at the JavaScript, and that's fine. But as long as you're like getting used to navigating that a little bit, I know it looks a little bit different in the browser, but compared to like VS Code, but it's still, you get your eyes used to seeing, well, what are these other places doing. You'll also eventually with the experience, when you start learning about best practices, you'll see some of these places violating best practices, and you'll be like, oh man, this place is actually, this website isn't actually, the code is trash, and maybe that's why it looks as bad as it does, and things like that, or maybe that's why the functionality is as bad as it is. Like, yeah, there's eventually when you get more experience, you're able to see that. You're able to see when somebody's just got a crap way of structuring their website, their HTML. CSS too. CSS gets tough because with CSS you have some pretty high level concepts there, but like most of it is pretty easy, but you do have some high level concepts you have to learn there. But what makes CSS hard is navigating the code base once it starts getting thousands of lines long. So like it's easy to get a full stack web app, for example, on the front end. It's easy to start getting where you're thousands of lines into CSS, and you got to start using CSS modules and modularizing your code just so you can navigate it. And it still makes that hard to do, even though it's modularized. It still gets pretty hard to, because then you got to keep track of the structure and what's going on where and what in the different modules you have. But that's a little bit more advanced when you start using modules, but you'll get there. It's good to start with one external style sheet for now, and then eventually work into CSS modules. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And everybody uses divs right now, even though we have what's called what is it called again? Like, so like using divs for everything is like an old school way of doing it, and everybody still does it, like where you use divs for everything. But there is what's technically called the semantic HTML, and we're supposed to be using that instead of divs everywhere, but nobody does. Like there's this big old thing that people were making a big old deal over semantic HTML for a while, because it has benefits, especially for like SEO, uh, and then it helps people like with screen readers, like people with disabilities and things like that. But most people don't even implement it, even though technically we should all be implementing semantic HTML in our HTML. you're still typing. So yeah, you want to, while you're studying HTML, study all the. You can. It's good that you're studying these other websites using your inspector or your dev tools, but also look up semantic HTML. So make sure you write that in your notes, and then look up semantic HTML. You should see an example of it on W3 Schools, and it'll help you so you could see the difference between using divs everywhere versus using semantic HTML. And then when you're wondering how something works, maybe try to build it and like make like a miniature example, like a miniature website. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged website. Make your own little tiny website, like just something super simple, and try to implement that same like it's not of course good to copy other people's code, but like you're doing it for an educational purpose. So like you don't have to copy and paste it. Just look at what they did and try to replicate it for a learn, because it's a learning process. Just try to replicate it, and then if you successfully replicate it, because you don't have to use their assets. Like don't use their assets. Like you can use placeholder text or any video you want to create or any images you want that are free, but don't use theirs. Don't use any of their stuff. But you can just copy what you could try to do. If you could try to replicate what they did, you're gonna learn a lot from that too. So that's like a good thing, because you're not trying to monetize it. You know what I mean? You're not trying to. It's not like you're trying to copy their website and then use it as your own website. It's like you're doing it more educational, where if you're doing it for education like purposes and it's not exactly the same, you're learning from that process. Nobody's gonna try to come after you for that. And not all coding problems are mathematical, Fistosian, if that's what you meant. There are some software that you might be building, depending on what you're doing, that might involve mathematics. But I don't know if that's what you meant or not. I was wondering if maybe were you thinking more like how I was talking about algorithms earlier, like a step-by-step approach, a process. He's just typing. It depends on the context for that question, Stoji. Like it depends on the context of the code you're trying to write, the problem you're trying to solve, whether it's going to involve a lot of mathematics or not. So most of the time, it always involves just plain old logic. The logic you brainstorm in your mind that you're thinking about. And I could give you an example of that. Maybe one of these events when we do Code Wars, and we can pick a problem, and I can give you an example of thinking logic through in your mind, so that way you can create a solution to solve a problem and what that might look like, so that way you can get an idea and then start implementing it on your own. His typing. Alright. So we do got 3 minutes left, so we'll make this is the last one. I gotta do a hard stop at noon. I got guests coming in and I got some things I gotta get done. So yeah, you want to look at why they do what they do. That's a good thing. At least you're doing that, because most people, they don't care. They copy paste, they got it working, but they're not understanding how it works and why it works the way it works. And that's the key, is you have to understand the way it works and why it's working the way it's working. Like those kind of things, like you're saying you're trying to do, that's a good thing. That's gonna make you better. That's why I was saying don't cut and paste. Like just type it out yourself. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go. I have I'm gonna have family over for a little bit, and then I got some things I gotta do, some tasks I gotta take care of, and then I gotta switch gears and do a little bit of university work and yeah, finish out my plans with the switch to this new community and things like that. So yeah, thank you guys for coming, and I hope to see you guys next Sunday, and maybe you'll see. Maybe we'll meet here again. Maybe it'll be on the Need community. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Okay, we gotta do that in a smiley face. Where's it at? There we go. Yeah, thank you. You too. You guys have a good day.